Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Hibi Lazia. I believe I'm saying it correct. This is the latest single dynamic IEM that they have, yeah. Well, let me just. I'm not going to take you through the whole unboxing. I'm just going to show you the accessories because I think they are really well equipped in the accessories department. I'm just showing you the box because the box reminds me very much of the Tanstrom Oxygen kind of styled box and Hana, and even internally the way everything is disposed is very much following that philosophy that Tanstrom uses. Now, what is impressive is the accessories package that the Lazia brings. It brings two cables, a 3.5mm and a balanced, which I'm using over there. And the peculiarity about these cables is the usage of this type of an MMCX connector. They call it a Pentacon double M, okay? Double N, sorry, at the end. And the difference is that the pin there of the connector, okay, the gold part, let's put it that way, okay, it enters the plug of the actual IEM. Let me see if I can show it to you. Okay, that's the plug. And if you notice very carefully, I'm going to try and zoom in. There we go. If you notice, the plug is divided into four sections, okay, you see? Four divisions, and the center pin is thicker than the usual MMCX connector pin. So what does this mean? It means that when this actually goes in, those arms of the pin there, of the plug there, they open up and they really embrace very nicely the plug, and it stays very nice. It doesn't have that tendency that the standard MMCX connector has of kind of almost seems like you're going to break the IEM if you're going to continuously plug and unplug. No, it seems like a way more successful implementation of that style of plug. So the cable, in terms of cable, they've done something, in my opinion, that's well done. So congratulations. They've included a 3.5, like I said, and a 4.4 balance because it's not an easy cable to find in the aftermarket. I've actually had a cable made specifically for me, which hasn't arrived, but once it does, I'll show you guys. I got it made by XI and HS. So cable wise, it's got a new novel factor. Okay, let's put it that way. Brings a very cool case, kind of big but nice, and internally as well, nice. Everything, nice case, really nice case. Nothing bad. And then it brings what I consider this is the way tips should be presented in IEMs, like this. Easy to understand, no confusion, no doubts what one tip is or the other. These ones are more vocal centered. These ones are the balanced. These ones are the bass and some foams. Honestly, I measured them. This one, yes, does have slightly less bass than this one and a little bit more treble energy. And these two, they're almost identical. Almost identical. I just like the way that it is kind of cleaner on the bass tips in terms of the mids, upper mids. It seems to be less up and down. Okay, that's my measurements with the stock tips. I'm using the bass ones on my Lazia, as you can see. Put that away there. Okay, and yeah, what about the IEMs? Well, simple. It's resin styled shell. Okay, as you can see. Oops. Resin style shell. It's got a CIEM type of appearance, so this could be a problem for some people in terms of fit. For me, no such issues. It fits beautifully, available in three colors. This green, this kind of jade green, there's a purplish, which I don't really appreciate, and there's a bluish kind of turquoise blue. That's also very nice, but I like green, and that's the reason why I've got the green. So fit, isolation, very nice. It's got a nice deep nozzle, so it inserts really good into the ear canal. Very, 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 very nice fit. Honestly, in my particular case, absolutely no issues, no quarrels. It just flawless. In terms of more details of driver technology or something of the sort, well, it's simple. It's basically using a 10 millimeter CNT carbon nanotube driver. What more can I say? It has this novel, well, not novel, but a very smart way of doing the way that the vents that are included usually in earphones for to do away with driver flags and so on and so forth. The way that they've actually done it, it's quite smart. They've done it in a very interesting manner, very much similar to Moondrop's implementation as well. And actually, if you look at a Moondrop IEM and you look at the way they do the venting for the driver, for the dynamic driver, and you look at the Laser and you compare it, you can see a lot of similarities there. And yeah, that's basically that's it. 10 millimeter CNT driver in a nice resin shell that's got a CIEM kind of form factor to it. Good cables. Honestly, really flawless. There's really nothing that is an issue or a problem. Let's put it that way. On to what we want to know, which is what we are here for, which is what does it sound like? Well, simple. I've got two, I could have included more, but I've got two basic opponents for the Alazia, the BQEYZ Autumn and the Moondrop Kato. Both of them fantastic IMs with pluses and minuses here and there, but overall very good, two very good IEMs. In my opinion, both of them somewhat underrated or not given their deserved value. Perhaps more the Autumn than the Kato. The Autumn has this awesome swappable nozzle vent, I don't know what to call it, system there to tune the bass, and it's really a pity why it just doesn't, why people haven't really seen the benefit of this system, because you can effectively have three different tunings, let's put it that way, which could possibly mean three different IEMs. So a normal kind of a bass mid output, a subdued bass, and an emphasized bass, but everything always done within very reasonable margins, which in my opinion don't really affect dramatically. Okay, fine, the one that cuts away the bass slightly, then yes, that one will be the one that is technically more capable in terms of being the cleaner one for vocals and so on and so forth. But even the bass version, honestly, I never found it to be by any way or form to be congested or anything of the sort. If anything, the fault that I would point to the BQEYZ is the fact that, let me just show you a quick graph here and we'll explain that better, is the fact that it has this peak there at 5K, as you can see, and this peak, although the IM is very well composed and stays very well composed always throughout, that peak can become very much noticeable when you start increasing the volume, when you start pushing the volume, and it's an IM which invites you to do that, because it's got this really let me put it to you this way: if there's one characteristic that is unanimous to all of these three drivers, is their bass. The bass, and I'm actually using the stock filter here for the bass on the BQEYZ. The bass on each one of these IMs is amazing. It's clean, it's dynamic, it's textured, it slams well, it's got just enough authority down low, it rumbles enough. In terms of bass, absolutely nothing to be said. Okay, and by bass I mean sub bass and bass. In terms of low mids as well, perfect. And then it's that transition from mids to upper mids. So I'm talking about that transition there, 2-3K. That's when things start becoming different between them. But otherwise, in terms of bass and the way the bass comes forward, the timbre, the tonality, everything in these IEMs is perfect. And in the BQ EYZ, like I was saying, its only issue, in my opinion, really, is that the bass is so good that you want to listen to it louder. And when you do that, this peak that you see here at 5K, it really starts standing out, and the IM kind of loses its own stride. It doesn't, I wouldn't say fall apart, because it's a very strong word, but you don't want to keep it that loud for too long, because it can start becoming fatiguing. That's really the only issue. And following that, what I've done, and this particular Autumn that I have here, I've got two. This particular Autumn has that mod, which you can see. The green is the stock, the purplish line is what I've done, which is I've included a 300 grade filter on the nozzle, and that's lowered 2-3 dBs, that this area here between 2 and 6-7K, it's lowered it, and it's lowered it enough to clean up that upper mid transition into presence area, taking away that sibilance, taking away that harshness, that graininess that you have, and it just makes the BQ EYZ really start shining. The Kato doesn't have any of those issues. The Kato is clean always throughout. It has, in my opinion, amazing mids, honestly, amazing. Again, please keep in mind what we're talking about here, but it has amazing mids, it really does. Clean, detailed, there's no excessive forwardness, male, female voices, timbre, tonality, everything just comes across flawlessly in the Kato, in my opinion. Okay, and the Lazia, where does then the Lazia stand? Well, let me again show you a graph, and I think that will contextualize things better. Okay, this is the graph of the Lazia. Okay, and again you will see two lines. The red line is the stock one. It has a more aggressive way of its spin again is more aggressive than the Autumn or the Kato. I'll show you that in a second. But it's got these peaks. It peaks at 2, then comes down, then peaks again at 4 point something, then comes down again, then peaks again at 8. That's coupler related. But these peaks, when you're listening to the Lazia, let's say up to about 50-60% volume, it's fine. They add enough energy to make the vocals come across really clean, detailed, and that's, I think, is one of the good things about the Lazia. It's got really good vocals, but again, it suffers from the same issue as the BQ EYZ, which is when you really start pushing the volume. And again, why? Because that CNT driver, it really invites you to do so. It's got, when once you've had the opportunity to listen to so many IEMs like I have, you start understanding that there are certain diaphragm materials that just lend themselves better than others to certain things. And CNT drivers in general, they've got this really nice bass. It's just got this very nice impact. And you really have to listen and compare it to an LCP and to a titanium and so on, and to a beryllium to really understand what I'm talking about. They've got this really nice impact with this really nice tonality, and the Lazia is no stranger to that. The bass is really nice, really clean, and when you start pushing the volume, the rest just falls apart. It just comes, it doesn't scale as it should scale, like the bass does, and things just, and it becomes aggressive. It shouts at times, and it becomes a fatiguing. It becomes fatiguing to listen to it. So what have I done? Once again, I have put in the 300 grade filter, and as you can see, I've brought down that whole area, especially the area around the 4 point, the 4, that this section here, I've been able to due to it, because it wasn't so much the 2K that was the issue, it was more here. I've just brought it down enough to enable the Lasia to now scale in a more pleasant manner. It's just, it's such a simple mod. It's a mod that costs cents and takes not even a minute to do, and it just changes completely the Lasia. It makes it really, really, really good. The mod is so significant to the Lasia that it even improves upon its technical capabilities. It enables it to really come through in a manner which is more along, more conducive to what it costs. Because I mean, this is a $200 IEM, so you expect it to have certain sound stages, certain imaging capabilities, certain detail retrieval capabilities, a certain timbre, tonality. There are expectations that even if you don't want to do them, they are there. And by doing this little mod, yes, those expectations are met to a certain degree, or to a higher degree than in stock format. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. And I just want to show you now the graph of the three together, so that we can have a better understanding of everything that I've been talking about. So this is the graph of the modified BQEYZ with the 300 grade filter, the modified Lasia with the 300 grade filter, and a stock Moondrop Kato, absolutely stock. Okay. In terms of tips, just to quick mention, using 07 on the Kato, using the stock tips for bass on the BQEYZ, and the stock ones for bass on the Lasia. Graphically, I actually graphed them as well with 07s, and the difference between these stock tips and the 07 is insignificant. Honestly, insignificant. The difference that you do see is a difference that is more in the past 10K area, okay? And how much of it is really there or not is doubtful, or I cannot confirm. So that's the reason why I left the stock tips. And as I was saying, and I will show you now, the graph of the three is something like this. So in terms of sub bass, bass, up to roughly 2K, the three of them are almost neck and neck. And then after that, that's when things start changing slightly. The Kato continues its downward trend, okay, before it peaks at 8 and then falls off, and that's basically the reason why the Kato sounds the way it sounds, so very coherent, so very balanced. Okay, the purple line belongs to the BQEYZ, to the Autumn, and the green to the Lasia. They both have peaks. One peaks just before 4, which is the Lasia, and the other one peaks at about 4.5. What this means in terms of sound when comparing one and the other is that yes, the BQEYZ will have a little bit more energy. It will sound a little bit more, let's say, alive as compared to the Lasia, but it also sounds a little bit more on the edge comparatively. The Lasia never, ever, as opposed to it in stock format, but the Lasia modified in this way, it doesn't sound anywhere that it's on the limit. It doesn't sound like it's about to want to kill you, sibilant, anything of the sort, nothing. It is just a pleasure to listen to the Lasia, honestly, with the way it is. Yes, the fact that it has come down this much, or that I have attenuated it this much, let's put it that way, as compared to its stock format, has made it, at least at lower volumes, to sound a little bit more, let's say, dark, okay, as opposed to it in stock format. So in stock format, because it had all that extra energy, let me just show you the graph again. Okay, because it had a little bit more energy in those peaks, it was a little bit more alive, it had a little bit more energy that opened up the sound a little bit more. Now, with the modified version, it sounds a little bit more dull, a little bit more darker, okay? But when you increase the volume, it scales in a totally different manner, and it maintains its composure, and everything just balances it out really nice. And it's a pleasure to actually listen to the Lazia loud. You want to listen to it loud because it sounds really good. And yeah, that's basically it. In terms of more concrete terms, like I said, the bass on all three is very good. Mids on all three is very good, but the winner here definitely is the Kato. I would say that these two, the mids, are about equal, with only female voices being a little bit more open on the Autumn as opposed to the Lazia. Instruments sound about the same. Very unless well, with guitar, the Lazia perhaps can sound sometimes, on the one hand, a little bit subdued, but a little bit darker, as opposed to, it doesn't have that, I don't know the correct term, that twang that the BQE-YZ has. Highs. Although graphically it seems like they all have, well, let me just get the graph here. Okay. Graphically, when you look at this, you would say that the upper mids and you know, the IF and the presence area of the BQE-YZ and the Moondrop are about the same, but they're not. Mind you, let me just forget the Olina here. This is wrong. I wrote it wrong. It's supposed to say Kato there. So you would say that you know, upper mids and highs on the BQE-YZ and the Kato are about the same, and they're not. They're not. You notice that the upper mids and highs on the BQE-YZ are a little bit more edgy. On the Kato, they done in a very classy manner. Let's put it that way. The Lazia, a little bit darker. Okay. Past 8K or past 8K, it seems like all of them here again are more or less the same, but you know, coupler inability to measure properly and so on and so forth. What I do notice when I listen is that unquestionably the one that's the cleanest, the one that has the biggest sense of air, of 3D, is the Kato. Okay, that's the one that's got the best of that aspect. So the 3D capability of the Kato is the better one. With regards to soundstage, I would say soundstage is about equal with the Lazia, just a little bit behind sometimes. It's a little bit more cozy. It's not as expansive, not as wide. In terms of height, they very much equally matched, but overall, the one that has the best soundstage is the Kato. Imaging on the Lazia is spot on, very nice. I would say it's perhaps better than the BQE-YZ. I don't know why that would be, but that's what it is. But again, the one that has the better imaging is the Kato, but the differences between these two is very minor. Okay. Detailed retrieval, the best one is the Kato. These two, in terms of detailed retrieval, it's about a 60-40. 68% of the times the BQE-YZ is better, 40% of the times the Lazia is better. Timbre and tonality, these two really have a timbre and tonality that I think is very much correct, very organic. Some people might consider that the timbre and the tonality of the Kato may be a little bit colored, fake. I don't know. Personally, I don't. I think it's fine. Although when I compare it between the three, these two are the more organic. These two are perhaps the more realistic ones. Okay, that one perhaps a little bit emphasized. These two are the better ones. And yeah, guys, that's basically it. That's very much it. Lazia, $200, basically the same price as the BQE-YZ and the Kato. An interesting proposition, or an interesting alternative. What are the things that it has going for it? A different type of a connector which works, 2 cables, accessories, that's good. In terms of sound, what does it have going for it? Very nice bass. Bass is tremendous. And the rest of the sound, if you are not a power listener in the sense that you want to crank the volume up and everything, then I think it will satisfy vocal lovers quite nicely. If you do like listening to it loud like I do, then I would recommend doing the 300 grade filter mod on it like I did on my BQ-EYZ. But mids, and the mids then also still carry on being good, and the vocals good and everything. So yeah, I guess that's basically it. It is not a treble monster, so for those people that want a very treble effective IM, no, I wouldn't say that that's the best for it. I think it's just a very well executed, very well built, sounds really good IM that, as is the case in the sub 200 price bracket, it has a lot of tough competition, and so it all comes down to personal taste, what you actually want. You want to go with something which is more common, or you want to go with something which is different. That's basically it. Anyway, guys, that's my take on the Hebe Elasya. Like I said, if you like my, like I always say, if you like my reviews, please click the subscribe button, and any questions you guys have, please feel free to ask. And yeah, that's basically it, guys. All right. Anyway, take care. Thank you. Bye bye.